students, this month we are reading Sonia Sotomayor for our October book of the month. And this is about a judge that grows in the Bronx. And it was written by Jonah Winter and illustrated by Idel Rodriguez. So let's go ahead and read to see about Sonia Sotomayor. You never know what can happen. Sometimes the most beautiful moonflower blossoms in an unexpected place on a chain link fence near broken glass next to an abandoned building, watered by someone whose name you might not even know. That's interesting. And sometimes the most amazing person blossoms in such a place as well. So it was with a little girl named Sonia. Her blossoming began with her mother's love and hard work. And as you can see, we also have this story written in Spanish. Oh, how Sonia's mother loved her. She worked night and day and night as a switchboard operator, just so she could pay for Sonia and her brother's private schools. She had never made it past the 3rd grade when she was a girl, but she sure wanted her children to. That may sound like some of your parents. They lived in a public housing project in a part of New York called the South Bronx, a place where most people had precious little money, and Sonia's family was no different, with only their mother to support them. You see, Sonia's father had died when she was 9 years old, leaving just an empty chair and much sadness. Oh my goodness. We can think about our SEL word, empathy, when we're listening to this story. But you can't give in to sadness when your children need to eat. This is why Sonia's mother worked and then came home and cooked pork chops. To Sonia, this was heaven. Oh, how she loved her mother. When Sonia's mother wasn't cooking or working, she was studying. She wanted to become a nurse so she could make better wages to help her children even more. While Sonia slept, sometimes her mother stayed up until midnight doing her homework. There was nothing she would not do to help Sonia or her brother. And when we think about wages, that's money. And she's staying up late helping her brother and helping Sonia and Sonia's brother throughout the night as well. Sonia loved the world her mother gave her. Her mother and father were from Puerto Rico, and Sonia grew up surrounded by the taste and sounds of Puerto Rican culture. A favorite meal was Spanish rice and beans, and she loved the big family parties where merengue music filled the air. Arriba! On Saturday nights, Sonia's family and friends would get together. While the grown-ups sat in one room playing dominoes, Sonia and her cousins played Loteria, a Latin American bingo game. Sonia's abuelito would shout out the numbers while the grandkids marked their cards with chickpeas. Sonia's family surrounded her like a warm blanket. As you can see, there's some Spanish in here that Miss Perry was not familiar with, so I had to make sure that I could say those words. And she was also surrounded by books, school books, library books, a set of encyclopedias her mother had saved all her pennies and nickels and dimes to buy. And when the schoolwork was done, there were her favorite books, the Nancy Drew mystery novels. Oh, wow. Nancy Drew was a girl detective who was always on the go, solving crimes. She was unstoppable. That's who Sonia wanted to be. I like Sonia. But then something happened that made her change her mind. She was only 8. Her doctor sat her down and told her some bad news. She had a disease called diabetes. Oh my goodness. If you have diabetes, you have to take several shots of medicine a day for the rest of your life. Oh my goodness. I definitely have empathy for Sonia. So maybe she wouldn't be Nancy Drew, but that didn't mean she couldn't be unstoppable. Her favorite TV show was Perry Mason, about a courtroom lawyer. Wow. One episode ended with the image of a judge, the most powerful person in the courtroom. A light bulb went on above Sonia's head, and she knew she would become a judge. Becoming a judge, though, that's not easy. Sonia knew she had to get really good grades to become a judge. So while other kids may have been goofing off, Sonia was studying at her mother's kitchen table year after year after year. All right, so Sonia was focused. It paid off. By the time she graduated high school, she had won an award for being the very best student in her whole school. Way to go, Sonia. What an honor. You can't imagine how proud her mother was. This was her daughter, Sonia. What an honor. Sonia's grades were so good that she was accepted at one of the very best colleges in America, Princeton University. Way to go, Sonia. And some of you will be accepted into Princeton as well. This too was an honor. But Princeton was not the Bronx. Where were the subways? Where was the music? Where were the people who looked like her? For the first time in her life, Sonia felt scared and shy and very out of place, almost like she was on a different planet. Oh my goodness. Sometimes that's how we feel when we go to different places. During her first week, she heard a cricket in her dorm room and it scared her. What was this strange insect? As it turns out, it wasn't in her room, but on a tree outside her window. Growing up in the projects, Sonia never had a tree outside of her window. And growing up in the projects, Sonia never had the sorts of luxuries her classmates took for granted. Most of the Princeton kids had grown up taking tennis lessons and vacationing in Europe. Oh my goodness. They went skiing over Christmas break. Many of their parents and grandparents had gone to Princeton too. Suddenly, Sonia was aware of being poor or being Latina, of feeling inferior. Oh my goodness. Where was the warm, comfy blanket of her family? Oh, how she missed them. In similar shoes, some people may have gone back home, but Sonia was like a flowering vine that would not stop growing. She would not just survive this strange new world, she would thrive. She would spend her first summer break reading all the books she never had time to read before to make herself even smarter. I see nothing can stop Sonia, and we see it as we listen. She would become the head of a club for the handful of Latino students at Princeton. She would push herself to her limits, studying the day and night and day at the library, and graduate with the highest honors of any students in her class. I think she gets that from her mother, right? Success comes to those who make the most of the chances they are offered in life. Sonia did become a judge, and a good judge too. She was known for working very hard and always being very prepared for every trial. She was also known for having no patience for lawyers who weren't prepared. You better not mess with Judge Sonia. Yet, she was known for much more than this. Unlike many judges, she had grown up in poverty. She had grown up as a New Yorican, a child of Puerto Rican parents. She had seen things most other judges had not. People she'd grown up with had gone to jail. People she'd grown up with were poor, and many of them weren't as lucky as she had been. They had trouble learning to speak English, trouble finding jobs. Unlike many judges, she knew firsthand what prejudice was, what it was to be judged for your background. In the world of judges, this made Sonia very special. Oh, but Sonia was the very special judge, but that did not stop there. No. You see, Sonia was offered the chance of a lifetime. She was invited to the White House by none other than President Barack Obama, because President Obama had decided to nominate Sonia to the best job a judge could possibly have, to become a Supreme Court justice. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the nation. Supreme Court decisions help shape the law of the land. This was huge. There had never been a Latin American who had been on the Supreme Court. How strange this was. There are so many people of Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, and Cuban descent, adding color to the great garden that is America. Why shouldn't all these people have someone who understands their lives on the Supreme Court? She was one of the most respected judges in the country. She was the perfect choice. This was an honor beyond anything Sonia, in all her beautiful flowering, had imagined. But at the announcement ceremony, Sonia spoke about her mother rather than herself. I often said that I am all I am because of her, and I am only half the woman she is. Then, speaking straight to her mother in the audience, she said, I thank you for all that you have given me and continue to give me. Her mother cried and cried. This was her daughter. It wasn't over though. There were some bumps on the path to the Supreme Court, a broken ankle, which didn't slow her down one bit, and angry people calling Sonia names like racist just because she was proud to be a Latina judge. Oh my goodness. And days of tough questions from a panel of 19 senators, a row of white faces, most of them male. But this didn't stop her. Nothing could stop Sonia, the dynamo from the Bronx, from making history as the nation's first Latin American Supreme Court justice. You never know what can happen, especially when you water a flower. All right, that is awesome.